A few months ago, I was speaking with someone, a retired teacher, mid-60s, sharp as a tack, and she mentioned almost in passing that her night vision had gotten so bad she'd stopped driving after dark entirely. Said it happened gradually, didn't notice it until it was just gone. And then she said something that stayed with me. She said, "I just assumed that was part of getting older. Nobody told me there was anything I could do about it." And that's exactly why I wanted to make this video, because here's what most people don't know. Your eyes don't just deteriorate passively with age. A significant part of what happens to vision after 60, the night vision loss, the difficulty adjusting between light and dark, the blurry edges, the increased sensitivity to glare, is driven by nutritional deficiencies that are completely addressable. Your eyes are doing their most intensive repair work while you sleep. And what you eat in the hours before bed directly influences how much of that repair actually happens. So today we're going to talk about 5 specific foods, each one chosen because of what it delivers to your eyes during sleep and why. Not general superfoods, not vague antioxidant advice. Specific compounds, specific mechanisms, specific foods that carry them. We'll also touch on what's actually happening inside your eyes at night, so the choices make sense. Because once you understand the biology, this stops feeling like guesswork and starts feeling obvious. Let's get into it. Most people think of vision loss as a structural problem. The eye is wearing out, like a camera lens that's getting scratched. And there is some of that, physical changes to the lens, to the macula, to the retina. But a lot of what drives visual decline after 60 is biochemical. It's about what your eye cells have available to work with. And that changes dramatically based on what you eat. Here's the part worth really understanding. Your retina, the thin layer at the back of your eye that converts light into signals your brain can read, is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the entire human body. It burns through nutrients at a remarkable rate. Every moment your eyes are open, your photoreceptor cells are firing, cycling through chemical reactions that require specific raw materials to complete. And when you sleep, 2 things happen simultaneously. First, the demand on those cells drops, which gives the repair systems a chance to catch up. Second, and this is the key part, the cells that were depleted during the day are restocking. If the nutrients they need are available in your bloodstream, the restocking happens efficiently. If they're not, it doesn't. This is why timing matters. What you eat in the 2 to 3 hours before bed is what's circulating in your blood during that early sleep window. And that early window, particularly the deep slow-wave sleep phases, is when the most intensive cellular repair happens throughout the body, including in the eyes. There's also something specific happening in the eye during sleep that most people have never heard of. Your eyes have their own version of the glymphatic system, the brain's overnight waste-clearing mechanism. During sleep, fluid circulation through the eye increases and helps flush out metabolic waste products that accumulate during the day. One of those waste products is a protein called amyloid beta, the same protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. And research published in the journal Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science has linked its accumulation in the retina to early-stage age-related macular degeneration. Proper nutrition supports the cellular environment that allows this clearance to happen efficiently. Poor nutrition, or simply missing the key compounds, slows it down. So when I talk about foods that repair your eyes while you sleep, I'm not speaking loosely. There are literal mechanisms at work here, and the 5 foods we're going to cover are each delivering something specific to those mechanisms. The first food is tart cherries, and the reason they lead this list is specific. It's not just about the antioxidants, though those matter too. Tart cherries are one of the few whole foods with a meaningful natural concentration of melatonin. And melatonin's role in eye health goes significantly beyond sleep regulation, which is what most people associate it with. Your retinal cells have their own melatonin receptors, and research has shown that melatonin acts as a direct antioxidant within the eye, specifically in the retinal pigment epithelium, the layer of cells that supports and nourishes your photoreceptors. Oxidative damage to the retinal pigment epithelium is one of the primary drivers of age-related macular degeneration. Melatonin, delivered in the hours before sleep when your body is already beginning its overnight repair cycle, helps neutralize that oxidative damage right at the source. A study published in the journal Nutrients looked at melatonin supplementation in patients with early to moderate age-related macular degeneration over a period of several months and found it significantly slowed the progression of retinal damage compared to controls. Now, tart cherries aren't a supplement. The melatonin concentration is lower. But as a whole food eaten consistently in the evening, they deliver melatonin alongside a suite of other anti-inflammatory compounds, anthocyanins, quercetin, vitamin C, that work synergistically in ways that isolated supplements often don't replicate. A small handful of tart cherries, or about 100 to 150 milliliters of unsweetened tart cherry juice, an hour or two before bed. That's the practical version. Not sweetened cherry juice, tart specifically. The sugar content of sweetened versions spikes blood glucose at exactly the window when you want stable insulin levels for optimal overnight repair. The second food is eggs, specifically the yolk, and I want to address that directly because there's a generation of people who were told for decades to avoid egg yolks because of cholesterol. That guidance has shifted substantially, but for eye health specifically, the yolk is where everything important lives. Egg yolks are one of the most concentrated dietary sources of two carotenoids called lutein and zeaxanthin. These two compounds are the only carotenoids found in the human retina, specifically in the macula, the central portion of the retina responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision. They function as a kind of internal sunscreen for the eye, filtering out high-energy blue light and neutralizing free radicals before they can damage the photoreceptors underneath. And here's the detail that matters most. The lutein and zeaxanthin in egg yolks is significantly more bioavailable than the same compounds in plant sources like leafy greens. The fat content of the yolk enhances absorption. Your body takes up roughly 3 times more lutein from an egg yolk than from an equivalent amount of spinach. 1 or 2 eggs in the evening, a light scramble, a small omelet, is a genuinely useful addition to a vision-supportive evening routine. The protein is also beneficial for overnight tissue repair more broadly, and the fat content slows gastric emptying in a way that keeps blood sugar stable through the night. Food 3 is fatty fish: salmon, sardines, mackerel. And if those aren't regulars in your diet, this section might be the reason to change that. The key compound here is DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, a long-chain omega-3 fatty acid, and DHA has a relationship with the eye that goes deeper than most people realize. Your retina is composed of roughly 60% DHA by dry weight. It's not just beneficial to retinal tissue, it is retinal tissue. Structurally, DHA is embedded in the cell membranes of your photoreceptors and plays a direct role in the signal transduction process, the biochemical cascade that converts light hitting the retina into a nerve signal your brain can interpret. When DHA levels are low, that process becomes less efficient. The signal gets noisier, and that shows up as reduced contrast sensitivity, slower dark adaptation, and the kind of visual fogginess that many people assume is simply age-related deterioration. What's particularly relevant for evening consumption is that DHA is incorporated into cell membranes during periods of low metabolic demand, which is exactly what sleep provides. Eating fatty fish in the evening means DHA is available in circulation during the window, when your retinal cells are most actively rebuilding their membrane structures. A study published in the Archives of Ophthalmology, a large prospective study that followed over 2,000 adults for an extended period, found that people with the highest dietary intake of omega-3 fatty acids had a significantly lower risk of developing advanced age-related macular degeneration. The reduction was roughly 30% compared to those with the lowest intake. That's a meaningful number for a condition that is one of the leading causes of irreversible vision loss in adults over 60. A serving of fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week is where most of the research lands for meaningful benefit. Sardines, in particular, are worth mentioning. They're inexpensive, require no preparation, and have one of the highest DHA concentrations of any commonly available fish. A tin of sardines on whole grain crackers an hour before bed is genuinely one of the more useful things you can do for your eyes overnight. Food 4 is kiwi fruit. And this one surprises people, not because kiwi is obscure, but because nobody thinks of it as an eye food. Kiwi is exceptional for one specific reason in this context. It has one of the highest concentrations of vitamin C per gram of any commonly eaten fruit, higher than oranges, which most people assume lead the category, and vitamin C plays a structural role in the eye that goes beyond its antioxidant function. The aqueous humor, the fluid that fills the front chamber of your eye and maintains intraocular pressure, has a vitamin C concentration roughly 20 times higher than blood plasma. Your eye actively pumps vitamin C into that fluid because it's using it continuously to protect the lens from oxidative damage. The lens has no blood supply of its own. It depends entirely on that vitamin C-rich fluid for its antioxidant protection. And oxidative damage to the lens proteins is what drives cataract formation. 1 or 2 kiwis eaten in the evening is enough to meaningfully support that system. They're small, require no preparation, and pair well with the yogurt and pumpkin seed combination we'll get to in a moment. If fresh kiwi isn't easy for you to access regularly, frozen kiwi retains most of its vitamin C content and works just as well blended into a small smoothie. Vision loss is one of the most feared aspects of aging. In survey after survey, people consistently rank losing their eyesight among their greatest health fears, often above mobility loss, above memory decline. And yet most people do almost nothing specifically to protect their vision until something goes wrong. They eat generically healthy, maybe take a multivitamin, and hope for the best. But here's the reality of what untreated visual decline looks like over time. It's not just blurry vision, it's losing the ability to read books, medicine labels, the faces of your grandchildren across a table. It's giving up driving, which for many people means giving up independence. It's a world that gets progressively dimmer, lower contrast, harder to navigate. Macular degeneration, left unaddressed, leads to a blind spot at the center of your visual field that eventually makes faces unrecognizable. That's not a distant hypothetical. That's where unmanaged retinal deterioration goes. And the thing that makes this genuinely difficult to accept is that it's largely silent in the early stages. By the time most people notice meaningful vision changes, a significant amount of retinal cell loss has already occurred, cells that don't regenerate. What we're talking about today isn't treatment. It's protection. It's giving your eyes the materials they need to slow the damage that's accumulating right now, tonight, while you sleep. You can't undo what's already lost, but you absolutely can influence what happens from here forward. And that starts with something as simple as what you put on your plate before bed. The 5th food is pumpkin seeds, and this one rounds out the list in a way that's very deliberate because it delivers something none of the other 4 foods cover adequately: zinc. Pumpkin seeds are one of the richest plant-based sources of zinc available, and zinc's role in the eye is specific and irreplaceable. The retina and the choroid, the vascular layer just beneath it, have the highest concentration of zinc of any tissue in the body. Zinc is a cofactor for an enzyme called retinol dehydrogenase, which is directly involved in converting vitamin A into the visual pigment rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is what allows your rod cells, the photoreceptors responsible for low light and peripheral vision, to function. Without adequate zinc, that conversion process stalls. And that shows up exactly as the kind of night vision loss and slow dark adaptation that so many people over 60 experience and quietly accept as inevitable. There's also a zinc-specific connection to macular degeneration worth mentioning. The AREDS study, the Age-Related Eye Disease Study, one of the largest and most influential clinical trials ever conducted on eye health, found that zinc supplementation as part of a nutrient formula significantly slowed the progression of intermediate to advanced macular degeneration. Zinc was one of the 4 key compounds in that formula, not peripheral, central. Now, getting zinc from food rather than a high-dose supplement is generally preferable because food-based zinc comes with cofactors that improve absorption and reduce the risk of the copper depletion that high-dose zinc supplements can cause over time. A small handful of pumpkin seeds, about 30 grams, in the evening gives you roughly 20 to 25% of the daily zinc target in a form your body handles well, lightly salted, dry roasted, stirred into a small bowl of yogurt. practical and easy. Actually, that yogurt combination is worth expanding on. Plain, full-fat yogurt with a handful of pumpkin seeds is genuinely one of the better pre-bed eye health snacks you can put together quickly. The yogurt adds a small amount of additional zinc, plus vitamin A precursors and probiotics that support the gut-eye axis, a connection that's emerging in the research as more significant than previously thought, though I'll save that for another video. And here's where it all lands. 5 foods, 5 mechanisms, each one doing a specific job overnight. Tart cherries, melatonin and anthocyanins directly protecting the retinal pigment epithelium from oxidative damage. Eggs, lutein and zeaxanthin building and maintaining the macular pigment that shields your central vision from high-energy light damage. Fatty fish, DHA, providing the structural raw material your photoreceptor membranes need to function and rebuild overnight. Kiwi, vitamin C, maintaining the protective fluid environment of the lens and supporting the collagen structure of the eye's connective tissues. And pumpkin seeds, zinc enabling the vitamin A to rhodopsin conversion that makes low-light vision possible. None of these need to happen every single night. The goal is consistency over time, working these foods into your regular evening rotation so your eyes have what they need more nights than not. Even 3 or 4 nights a week makes a meaningful difference compared to none. And here's what I want to leave you with. Your eyes have been working for you every waking hour of your life. They're working right now. And tonight, while you sleep, they'll be doing their best to repair the day's damage and prepare for tomorrow. The question is simply whether you give them what they need to do that work well. It doesn't require a complicated protocol. It doesn't require expensive supplements. It requires a handful of cherries, an egg, a tin of sardines, a kiwi, a small bowl of pumpkin seeds, rotated through your evenings with a little intention. That's it. That's the whole thing. If this was helpful, subscribe. I cover this kind of specific, research-backed nutrition content regularly, focused on the things that actually matter as you get older. And if someone you know has been quietly accepting vision changes as just part of aging, share this with them, because now you know there's more to the story than that. Take care of yourself, and get some good sleep tonight. Your eyes will be working hard.